Files, when he started it and when he came up with it, there was a lot of controversy, skepticism, but it turned up to not just become one of the biggest blockbusters of the year 2022, but the biggest eye-opener that perhaps shook the conscience of a sleeping nation. The Kashmir Files Unreported promises to take that story further. Now, just on the cusp of having that conversation with Vivek Agnihotri ji comes this big development where those files which even the court said we are not going to open, now the Sarkar is saying we are going to finally open.
Yeah.
So when things start happening, they all start happening together. It just looks like this is the right time. Vivek ji, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. See, there was a dialogue in Kashmir Files. When I had written it, so Mr. Anupam Kher had to speak it. He said, "Iska kya matlab hai? And what does it mean?" वो डायलॉग ये था, हो रहा है, कुछ चीजें होती हैं पर उसी वक्त दिखती नहीं है. And this was my faith and belief that ultimately justice will prevail. And this was prophetic line. But Kashmir Files Unreported. See, can I explain in 1 minute the background so that people understand? See, what happened? The issue of Kashmir was not raised in 32 years because of political compulsions. You know that. Because we have a secular vote bank and stuff like that. Let's not get into details. But there were lots of agencies and institutions of democracy were involved in keeping it undercover. Nobody expected this kind of film to come. So it came from nowhere. And people think nowhere, but we worked for 4 or 5 years. So when the film came, it started conversation not only in India but all over the world. In whichever way, somebody saying good, bad, right, wrong, propaganda, vulgar, dirty, filthy, whatever they want to call, but there were conversations. And that made lot of young people and magazines and newspapers to research on this subject. Ki chalo hum bhi sach kya pata karte. So a consciousness changed. It's not that the intelligence agencies and governments don't know about it. And that also pushed, and this I've just come back from Kashmir, I'm telling you in black and white, very honestly, that slowly in last 1 year also made a lot of young teenagers in Kashmir Valley to research and figure out. Now the problem is anybody who was born after 90 did not have any idea about, like I don't have any idea how Britishers were here. But if you go and research, then you see photos, something, then these young breed of Kashmiri Muslims, they started realizing, oh my God, Kashmiri Pandits actually used to live here. You know, they actually used to live here. And they actually don't live here anymore. What is the reason that they were there on one day and they are not here on this day when it is their original Hindu land? And that also changed consciousness of Kashmir. And I'm telling you, trust me on this. I mean, beyond doubt, I'm telling you this. A third thing what happened, Kashmir Files Unreported, we have been working for quite some time and we've been showing it to a lot of influencers, not Instagram influencers, real policy influencers and media and very important people, intelligence and this thing. That also, for the first time, made the authorities also realize that, come on, government says we don't have evidence. Supreme Court has thrown these poor Kashmiri Pandits out saying, sorry, it's too late, there is no evidence. But these buggers have so much of evidence. So what, when it comes out, then what? It will put everybody in a very difficult situation. And Mr. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, I know very well that they are very passionate about Kashmir issue. You know, Modi ji has been passionate for a very, very long time. So yesterday, 9 o'clock, we launched at an event in Mandi House, this thing, and Justice Neelkant Ganjuji's daughter was also present over there. And I said, kya chahiye aapko? She said, all I want is that the justice for my father should be done. And within 15 minutes, we received this news that the first case, I had an idea something is going to happen, but the first case was picked up as Justice Neelkant Ganju. This is divine justice.
Yes, it is. And you said it well, that this is divine justice. But before we get into the story of why even the courts who wanted to take suo motu cognizance of certain incidents. No, but I'm just saying courts who sit on a Saturday to grant bail to an activist actually didn't want to look back into these cases which haven't got justice. Why is it? Whose fault is it? Is it you? Can we blame it on the system, or can we say somewhere perhaps Hindu groups, Kashmiri Hindus, also didn't take the fight to the level that they should have? I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. So suppose your house is on fire or any building is on fire. What's the first thing shopkeepers do? They want to run to a safe place. Then they like to see what is left. Then they say how to rebuild our life. Then their children, how to educate them, and so it took them a lot of time to rebuild. But at the same time, activists were working, and they went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court threw them out, not once but thrice. You know that, I think 3 times, if I'm not wrong. 3 times Supreme Court said, sorry, there are no evidences. It is not the victim's job to collect evidence. It's like, tell me something, okay, how vicious, sorry, maafi chaahta. I mean, how failed our judiciary is in spirit and concept. When a woman is raped and she goes and say, somebody has raped me, suo motu, you have to file a FIR, right? It doesn't mean that somebody is raped and there is no evidence or there is no perpetrator or rapist, then you will say, no, rape never happened. No, this is the law of the land. Now, in case of Kashmir, there are so many women who have been raped. Okay, so the Supreme Court failed to take suo motu. They are, forget about man, women, Hindu and Muslim, take the religion politics out. Justice Neelkant Ganju was a judge of Jammu and Kashmir High Court who was shot in the broad daylight, whose photographs and videos are available, where Yasin Malik has claimed that he has killed him, where the local netizens have given interviews to media saying, yes, in front of our eyes he was killed, and I have interviewed his family, brothers, sisters and everybody, and I have all the evidences of that. When we can show it in a film, all the truth, how on what basis Supreme Court? Didn't Supreme Court feel like giving justice to the family of their own colleague? It's a failed system.
Is it a failed system, or is it that one side of the narrative holds greater sway, perhaps coercion or convincing powers to impress upon certain important bodies and minds in our country, that they hold sway over those minds and they tell them how to think, how to act, and what to think and what to act upon? Now,
okay,
is that fair, or is...
There was a line in the film which says, government किसी की भी हो, system तो हमारा है. उसको लोग generally memes बनाते हैं, troll करने के लिए use करते हैं. That was not the purpose. It's a much deeper philosophy, deeper politics to it. See, terrorism now is a full-fledged, profitable industry. The whole world acknowledges it, right from CIA to KGB to RAW. Everybody acknowledges that terrorism is an industry. Like mafia was an industry, drug trafficking is an industry. Similarly, armed terrorism is an industry. Now, in today's time, they are not going to, terrorism, you see, with guns is going down. What is happening? They have now infiltrated the systems. Not in India, everywhere. In America, the chaos which is happening is because of the Democrats' stupidity, they've infiltrated the system. Same thing is happening, has happened in India. Whether it's media, not you, but in lots of places, in media, in schools, colleges and universities, in police, in bureaucracy, professors, judiciary I won't say because they'll put me behind the bars, but some things seem as if they are against the common interest of common citizens, but anyway I won't go there. But they have infiltrated the system, and that's how they are fighting an info war, a cyber war, a legal war with their own people. Tell me one thing, Article 370 petition recently, it's being heard on urgent basis. It's heard with passion. It's heard as if this is where the life depends, and they are decided to give a very quick judgment also. Before hearing Article 370 petition, don't you think it was a moral obligation of Supreme Court to first figure out what is the connection between genocide and abrogation of 370? Without understanding genocide, how will you take a decision on this? Right? So, I would request Chief Justice of India, Shri Chandrachud ji, that he is going to retire soon. So, before retirement, he should do one thing of great dharma, of great righteousness. If he believes in Gita, then he should do something which he should leave a legacy behind for his grandchildren to be proud of, which is, he can call me, I can give Chandrachud ji all the evidences of the women who say I have been molested, I have been raped, or my dignity was compromised. My honor was compromised. People who are saying my father was cut into 50 pieces. Women who are saying that I was raped not once but many times. If a woman is saying I was raped, do you think Supreme Court or anybody has a right to say, no, you were not raped and sorry, give me an evidence? Right? They cannot say that. I will give all these. This will create a basis for Honorable Chief Justice Chandrachudji to do a suo motu cognizance of this, and then he can reopen. If he reopens it, two things are going. Sorry, Anand, I'm talking.
No, please go ahead.
Two things are going to happen. Number one, you will prove to the world that in India, we will give justice to the victim. Second thing, what will happen is that this will also, if he punishes, and all the terrorists are alive, there's सबसे नहीं है सारे के सारे सामने घूम रहे हैं आपके, and all the politicians of Kashmir who were in nexus with them, who encouraged, nurtured, promoted, financed them, they are also all alive, living in Gupkar Road in billion-dollar kotis. If you punish all these people, okay, and especially the chief minister who was directly responsible for this, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, and muftis, it will set a precedence for these communal riots and genocides not to happen in the future. But every time we have protected these communal riots, that's why India is still suffering from communal tension and conflict. So I think Justice Chandrachudji can do once in a century kind of a great punya ka kaam. If he looks at Kashmir Unreported, just 7 episodes, and opens the case suo motu.
हो रहा है
मेरा विश्वास है. और चंद्रचूड़ जी, he sounds very liberal and very inclusive person. I'm sure he should be able to do it.
How is Kashmir Files Unreported? How is it taking the story further? What is it that you're going to tell us here?
Okay, so you can call it a prequel. Yeah,
okay.
It's like sometimes what happens. See, our original idea was to do this documentary.
Yeah, because you did a lot of research, isn't it? 4-5 साल आपने अभी बोला, but I know कि आपके पास इतना पड़ा है कि इस film में I couldn't even say half of what I wanted to say.
Yeah. So when I started this research, I generally put it on Twitter. Okay, if I have to make this documentary, what should I call it? Then Dimple Kaul wrote to me saying, lots of people responded. She said Kashmir Unreported. Since then, we were stuck with this name. But then we said, India does not have documentary culture. People generally don't like to consume. What if we say the emotional side of the story, to tell the emotional side of the story? So we decided to use the film as soft power to go and influence the world policy makers, which we did very successfully. So we made the film first. But after we made the film, some random same I told you system हमारा है, infiltrators of terrorism industry, then they started saying नहीं साहब ये तो झूठ है. And these are exactly the same people who were against abrogation of Article 370. These are exactly the same people who say Afzal Guru was not a terrorist. These are exactly the same people who are part of that. So I have reasons to believe they are part of the terrorism industry. Why would they protect them otherwise? So these people then started using international media and saying कि ये तो propaganda है, सच नहीं है, दूसरी side की story कहाँ है. Terrorism में terrorist की story क्या होती है? कुछ नहीं होती. He's evil, kill him. That's it. So we said, okay, for the next generations, let this become a modern literature. So we have put all, or not all, but most key elements of our research together in 7 parts, which is coming on 11th on Z5. And it will not only tell you the tragic tales and stories of the victims from their own mouth, but also it will tell you why Kashmir is so important to us and why Kashmir is so important to terrorists. This is one angle nobody has explained till date. So this will explain why Kashmir is so critical for the enemies of India.
So and that perhaps you believe should give perspective to this entire war and the entire exodus that happened.
Oh yeah.
Will there also be enough for people to believe that it is fair to not just call it an exodus of the Kashmiri Hindus, but also the exodus that was triggered by a genocide of the Kashmiri? Because a lot of people do not want to agree that there was even a genocide in our country, and that too in Kashmir.
Okay, don't call it genocide.
In independent India.
Don't call it genocide. Call it anything you feel like, but it was not exodus. Okay, you can call it near genocide, like genocide, or coin a term. I don't care. Holocaust was a term coined, right? So you can say anything. But anyway, what I'm saying is it was not exodus.
It was not an exodus.
No.
They were forced to go.
Exodus happens when there is a flood. or there's a heat wave, or there is no job. You know, when the laborers were traveling during COVID, that's called exodus. Exodus is when you leave for a certain reason. But when somebody is killing you and raping you and murdering you and you leave the place, it's not called exodus. I don't think that is the definition of exodus.
So they actually fled the place. They had to run away.
And if you go by United Nations 10 points, or I think 10 major points, what defines a genocide, then all 10 points exist. Othering the person, or sending them notices to leave, killing them, raping them, taking away their jobs, burning their properties. All those 10 points, on all 10 counts, it's a genocide. Even UN has recognized it as near genocide. They've used the word, it's near genocide. They are not being able to call it genocide in the lack of evidence. Correct? And the government of India, they kept telling government of India never provided evidence to UN to declare it genocide. If I were a smart government of India, I would use it to further my branding and my cause and use it as...
But Vivekji, one of my final questions, two questions. One is that if the court say there is lack of evidence, somebody's moved court and saying reopen the file, reopen the cases, court says evidence nahi hai. But in the last 9 years, has the current government given its disposition, given its abrogation of Article 370, and the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he was a pracharak, he's been there doing seva and all that Jhanda March, everything has happened. Why haven't they said, no, we'll take suo motu cognizance of this and provide evidence? Abrogation ko to 4 saal ho gaye. So wo evidences abhi tak kyun nahi aaye? Why is the government not come out and said, no, here is the evidence? It's like
government has
central administration hai Jammu and Kashmir.
Government has done what government can do at this point at a very fast pace. For example, Yasin Malik is in jail. It's a judicial matter. But government and NIA has said, no, we want him to be hanged. We want the most rarest of the rare punishment for him, which is capital punishment, death. Okay, which is within the government's power. Similarly, if you see 2 cases of Bitta Karate and Air Force officer killing was suo motu opened in J&K High Court. That's one major thing government has done. Then, because Supreme Court failed to do this, and we have been petitioning with the government that you come, there was no way out. One didn't know how government can do anything about it because it's a judicial matter now. So yesterday what Narendra Modi government has done is very exceptional thing, and that way Mr. Narendra Modi is a smart, clever man. He knows how to work his way around. And what they have done is, very smartly, they have asked Kashmiri Pandits and everybody to send proofs, evidence, their testimonies, whatever they have at a certain address and number, and everything will be kept secret. So once government has collected that data and information, see, what government does not have are testimonies. I have testimonies.
So you are providing that and putting it out there.
So we have testimonies, government doesn't have. But with this, they will have our testimonies as well as other testimonies also, and that will build a very strong case, which I hope should not happen after Chandrachud ji retires. He should do it himself. Otherwise, people will say that Chief Justice of India, Chandrachud, failed to give justice. I hope he does not fail and he passes.
So ho raha hai. Collection of evidence, testimonies, everything is coming.
दिख नहीं रहा है पर हो रहा है.
दिख नहीं रहा है पर हो रहा है. Final question. आपको लोगों ने बहुत कुछ कहा. प्रोपेगेंडिस्ट कहा, अपॉर्चुनिस्ट कहा, सब कुछ कहा, बट कुछ लोगों का ये भी कहना है कि आप इसमें कमर्शियल वैल्यू ढूंढ रहे हैं. That's your interest. Your interest is not the real welfare, well-being of the Kashmiri Pandits and justice for them. How do you want to react?
Well, it's good you ask that. I mean, it's such a stupid thing. I don't want to react. That's why I don't react. Otherwise, I'm sharp with words. I can react like this, but it's because it's such a below standard. So let me explain to you. If I had money in my mind, first of all, people don't understand how film business works. The biggest beneficiary is Z out of the film, not me. Okay, I'm a very small contributor. So whatever money we earned from the film, we reinvested in making a film which nobody in this world will make, called The Vaccine War.
Yeah.
Correct? Nobody. Nobody will make a film on India's greatest scientific achievement. Because vaccine, everybody thinks big industries, serum and biotech, they are manufacturing and distribution companies. But it's been made by the women scientists of India after a lot of sacrifice. So we invested in that. It's a very risky project. We can just be on the street tomorrow. We can be absolutely bankrupt and out. Second thing is, if I had to make money, Why I'm emotionally investing in all these things? Why do I have to create? First of all, I would have made Kashmir Files 2, Part 2. Every single studio today in front of you, you can test it. You call any studio in Bombay, call any star in Bombay and tell them Vivek met me last night and he was saying he wants to make Kashmir Files 2. They'll come to you with 200 crore, 300 crore. They are after my life. In fact, I run away from them. I don't know where to hide because they are after my life to make Kashmir Files 2. Correct? Why am I not making it? If I was money-minded, who in this world will stop it? Can all these big daddies of Bollywood, can they resist this temptation? वो तो अभी भी ये 4, वो 5, 6, 7 यही बना रहे हैं.
Correct.
उनके हीरो तो वही एक्टिंग बार-बार कर करके ही पैसे कमा रहे हैं, right? Why am I doing? Why am going to a very risky zone of vaccine, right? Second thing is, I could have made this and released it in theater also, and made money out of this. I could have called it Kashmir Files Unreported. It's in theater and you make money. We have gone to OTT, and this is also on cost basis. It's not for profits. Please understand this. And this is, the people are sitting here next to me, they know it, right? So it's not for money. And the last but not the least, चलिए मैं आपको देता हूं, आपको मैं कहीं से भी कमा के 50 करोड़ रुपए देता हूं. कोई भी फिल्म मेकर, आप आ जाइए, आपको 50 करोड़ भी मिलेंगे, साथ में 2-3 फतवे भी मिलेंगे. आइए बनाइए फिल्म. Right? Then if somebody is willing to put his life at stake, his children's life, my children, I have taken the youth from them. They are not being able to go out. I can't go out anywhere with my children in one car. I'm imprisoned. Yasin Malik is imprisoned in Tihar. I'm imprisoned in my own doing. I have no bloody freedom. I can't write on Twitter the way I want to write. I can't say so many things. I want to go for some functions. I'm not allowed to go there. So I'm also imprisoned. I can't travel, move around freely anywhere. I go to London. I can't walk on Oxford Street. You want that kind of life? Am I doing it for money? For 32 years, these people have kept it under cover. One person has exposed. The only lamest charge they have come with is money. Say something else. Right? Even if it is propaganda, even if it is the government is promoting it, even if I am doing it for money, even if it makes me the richest person in the world, somebody is benefiting. Somebody is being benefited. Yasin Malik is behind the bars. Kashmiri cause is all outside in the world. Let them show me one thing which they have done in which anybody else benefits. One thing. Show me one thing which terrorism industry has done which even one single human being has benefited out of it. They have taken lives. I am healing damaged people. This is the difference. Anyway, let's not get into that zone.
Perfect note to end this conversation right now. इससे आगे क्या कहें? Thank you so much, sir. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Lovely. All the very, very best, sir.